Hey internets, it's Jake, and today on Mini Terrain Domain, I'm going to show you how you can use open broadcast software and Zoom video conferencing software to stream your own Dungeons & Dragons or other role-playing games to YouTube and Twitch. Let's get started. In this tutorial, we will be using the OBS Open Broadcast Studio, which is a free download, link in the description, and is the software you currently see on screen now. We are also going to be looking at Zoom video conference software, which is a premium paid software costing approximately $15 per month. If you do not want to use a paid service, you can look at other free options such as Skype or StreamYard, and I'm sure there are many other options available there. While we are going to be looking at how to use Zoom to do this, many of the principles will still apply with these other programs. So, this tutorial is going to have multiple parts as we are looking at multiple sections that need to be set up in order for you to stream. A lot of this setup is going to take place only once, and then every other stream after that will be as simple as getting your players together and pressing the Start Streaming button. If you would like to skip to a section to cover a specific area of the tutorial, you can look at the description down below, and you'll see a sort of table of contents with time codes linking to each section. Let's get started. We are now looking at the OBS Open Broadcast Studio main display. I have already set up a scene collection called Blood of the Raven, which will be using assets for Blood of the Raven that was created in another tutorial. The link will be up in the upper right-hand corner and down below in the description. To create a new scene collection, you simply click on Scene Collection, enter New, and then type in the title, which I have done here with Blood of the Raven. So the first thing we're going to do is go into our settings over here on the right, and you're going to open into your general settings. There's not a whole lot that you have to do here. You can keep it set to automatically check for updates on startup. I like to have automatically record when streaming and keep recording when stream stops checked so that you can always have a local recording saved of your stream. In your stream area, this is where you're going to set up for your streaming service. If you are streaming to Twitch, you're going to choose Twitch from the service. From the server, you can select Auto, which will choose the closest server to you. If you are having problems, you can select one that you know to be close to you, such as US Chicago for me. And then your stream key. Now, right now it's showing as all dots. At no time should you ever share this key with anyone. This is very important because anybody that has this key can stream to your channel. I'm going to show you, without actually showing you the codes, where to find your stream key on both Twitch and YouTube. So if we look here on Twitch, which I had up first, you go into your creator dashboard and then all the way down here to channel, and you'll see at the top primary stream key. You can simply click copy. That will copy that stream key into your clipboard, go back into OBS, and you'll paste that in right here. For YouTube, you're going to go into your My Channel, into the YouTube Studio, and you'll have to go into Studio Classic for this. Find the live streaming section, Stream Now, and you're going to see this basic interface here for streaming. Scroll down to the very bottom, and you will find your server URL and your stream key that you can also copy by selecting and copying, going back into OBS and selecting or pasting it. So for YouTube, you'll select YouTube Gaming, use the primary YouTube ingest server and paste that stream key in here. For now, we're not going to worry about this because I already have mine set up, but that's where you would set that up. We're going to look at output now. In your output settings, you're going to want to have it set to simple. A video bitrate of 2500 kbps will be sufficient. Your encoder. Now, I currently have mine set for hardware for the NVENC, which is an NVIDIA encoder. This only works if you have an NVIDIA graphics card. If you do not have an NVIDIA graphics card, you will want to run off of the software X264, which will put a little bit more load on your CPU, but if you don't have an NVIDIA graphics card, that's what you're going to have to use. You can also try using the hardware QSV. I don't have as much experience with that. I do know that regardless, if you have the wrong setting selected, OBS will tell you that something is wrong when you try to stream with that. So I'm going to keep mine set at NVENC. Audio bitrate is currently set at 160. That is going to be sufficient. Your recording path is where you want your archives of your streams, those recordings that we selected to start when you start streaming. Where do you want those saved on your computer? Here I have it set for recording quality, same as stream, and I'm recording in MP4 format. It is important to note that both the MOV and the MP4 format, if your stream gets disconnected or OBS shuts down, you will lose that entire stream recording. Not if your stream gets connected, just if OBS shuts down. This is not a recoverable format. You can experiment with some of the other options that are available in here, such as MKV, which allows you to have multi-channels and things like that, but you have to have the proper hardware configuration as well to be able to use that. So we're going to stick with the MP4 configuration here. Going down to audio, this is going to be very important because this is how your audience is going to be able to hear you and your players. Your primary audio is going to come from your microphone auxiliary audio, and you're going to click it and look for your microphone, whether you are using a headset. I'm currently using an Audio-Technica AT2020 running through a Behringer audio interface. So I know that mine right here is in 1.2 Behringer, so I select that. Your player's audio is going to come from the desktop audio, so you're going to want to also select where your desktop audio comes from. That might be your speakers, or in this case, it's running through the audio interface, so I'm going to select that as well. For video, this is where you're going to set your base canvas and your output size. In most scenarios, you're going to want this to be set at 1920 by 1080 on both accounts. If your internet isn't as strong and you find that it gets a bit grainy or is struggling, you may want to drop that down to 1280 by 720. Once you're recording, though, you can't make any changes. Once the stream starts, these are going to be locked in. Keep it at bicubic, and then if you have a high internet speed and you have a camera that can run at 60 frames per second, by all means, set that at 60. Mine currently maxes out at 30, so that's where I have that set. And that has us set for the basic settings. We're going to go ahead and hit apply. And there we go. I'm going to hit OK now. Next up, we're going to look at the mixer settings. You can see here that I have applied the input and output settings, and so now in my mixer, you can see the audio here. You're actually seeing my microphone reacting as I speak, which is good, of course. You can mute that by simply clicking on the speaker icon, and you can do the same for your players. What you're going to want to do prior to your stream while you're in pre-stream mode. And we'll get to that in a few minutes. There are a couple things you're going to want to do here prior to streaming, though. This little gear icon, you're going to want to right-click on that and select Advanced Audio Properties. This is going to show whatever audio sources you have. Now, in my case, because I'm running a single-channel mic, I want to down-mix it to mono because my audience will otherwise hear only coming through the left or the right channel my voice. Now, this next piece is important. You have the option to monitor various aspects of these sounds. You can monitor means you can hear it in your own ear. However, for your players and for yourself, you want these set to monitor off. This in your own mic will create a terrible echo in your ear. And to hear your players' audio, this will create an echo coming from them on your stream if you have it checked to monitor. If you have a third audio source that is music that goes along with your pre-stream or your break or something like that, you will want to set that to monitor and output. That is the only way that is going to go out to your stream. Otherwise, everything else, you can leave it just as it is and close that. Now we're going to get into the meat of this thing, and that is setting up your scenes and sources. So we're going to come over here to the very left-hand corner where the scenes are, and we are going to set up a couple of scenes. This is what I think you need as a minimum if you are going to stream to YouTube or Twitch. You're going to start off, you're going to hit plus, and you're going to name that scene. So our first scene is going to be our pre-stream. We're going to set up our second piece, which is going to be our main overlay. Our next piece is going to be our break. And then our final piece is going to be our post-stream. This sets up each of the scenes that you can switch between during your broadcast. For our pre-stream, we're simply going to add a graphic in here that we have already created. I'm going to select plus, image, and I'm going to call that pre-stream placard. That's just what I call them, as placards. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to browse to where those files are located. I've actually created a streaming assets tutorial folder that has all of my assets in it. And I'm going to look for the file called pre-stream, which has already been created at 1920 by 1080 and fits perfectly in here. To make sure that doesn't accidentally get moved, I'm going to lock it. You can, if you need to make adjustments, you can do so by grabbing the anchor points and adjusting accordingly. Or if you need to crop, you can do so by holding Alt, grabbing an anchor point. It will turn green, and that crops you. You wouldn't want to do that with this particular image. I'm going to now skip down here to break, and I'm going to add that single image in as well. Image, break, placard. Some call this intermission. And we're going to browse to that same location. We're going to look for the screen that says break. Okay, and we're going to lock that one as well. We're going to go to post stream, add another source that is an image. Call that post stream placard. Okay, browse. And we're going to look for our post stream image. Lock that one. And now we're going to go into our actual overlay, starting with the image, main. Actually, I'm going to call this just overlay. You can't actually name your sources the same as your scenes. And OK. Browse, and I'm going to grab this. Excellent. And then I like to color code within because we're going to have multiple things in here. So I'm actually going to set color, set that to green. Then we're going to lock the overlay so it can't move around. For this next section, we are going to add the Dungeon Master camera. To do that, we are going to click on the plus sign, video capture device. I'm going to use, or rather name that to the camera that I am using, which in this case is camera 2. Say OK. And you can see here, it is already choosing my camera that has a green screen behind it. We're going to make a couple changes to it though. We are going to switch to custom. We're going to change to 1280 or 1920 by 1080 and highest FPS. Everything else we're going to go ahead and leave. And then you can see now that this is of course taking up the whole image, but we don't need that. To crop this down, we're going to hold down our Alt key. I'm going to crop in on my camera until only my self and the green screen is in there. Then I'm going to resize the image. And I'm going to move by clicking and dragging, or rather I'm going to click and use the down arrow, move that below, and then I can size this so that it fits within. If I want to make myself bigger or smaller in there, I can make that adjustment, and then I can Alt and drag to size that appropriately. If you are using a green screen and you want to get rid of it, replace it with straight black or an image, you can do right click, filter. Down here in effects filters, you will find chroma key. Well, you can name it whatever. I'm going to call it chroma key. And I already have mine set in there. You can adjust your smoothness and your similarity to key that out. You can also add other color correction filters and things like that, but you can experiment with that on your own. Hit close. You can now see it's just me with black behind me, and I can go ahead and lock that in place. I like to set my camera to a teal color. Set it aside. You can choose whatever color you want. You will notice down here that there is a audio mixer in the mixing area for the camera, but we are not using mixer camera audio. So you can mute that, or you can right click and you can hide it so you don't even have to see it. In this section, we are going to be covering how to capture your player windows from the Zoom video conference software. To allow your players to be able to see your overlay, one of the things you're going to want to do is go up here to Tools and select Virtual Cam. Now, depending on the version of OBS you have, you may have to download Virtual Cam as an add-in. I will add a link to that down in the description. Select your virtual camera and hit Start. And then you can go ahead and just hit the X to close this window out. Now, I already have OBS, or rather Zoom, open in the background, and I've got my volunteers standing by. We're going to capture them in just a moment. Once you have Zoom downloaded, link in the description, you open Zoom and you will see this screen. Now, where it says return to meeting, this will normally show as start meeting, and you will have an option to invite your players with a link that you can send to them. In this case, it's going to show return to meeting, and there are my volunteers, all of whom I've been fortunate enough to have in games on Mini Terrain Domain. I've set my window to full screen with the chat opened up on the side so that I can see in-game chat that the audience will not see. Down here, you'll see start video. I currently have it turned off. You can select your camera as OBS camera and then turn it on, and the virtual camera will feed your OBS display, and the players will be able to see the game as you are running it. To get your players into the screen, we're going to go back here into our OBS overlay, and we're going to add a window capture. And I'm going to just call this player 1. And then we're going to go here to Window and select Zoom. You'll see a version of the full Zoom window show up. Select OK. Now we're going to have to do this 4 times. So I'm going to show and talk through it for the first player, and then I'm going to do a little haste spell here for the last 3, since there's no need to repeat it 4 times. As I showed you earlier, you can hold your Alt button, grab the anchor, and grab your player 1, readjusting this bar, or rather the sidebars, until you have their window captured at the full dimensions. Move them where they are. In this case, Connor is going to be Torben, and we're going to move him down below camera 1 and also below the overlay. Now I'm going to grab the anchor and resize it, fit into the window, and once there, I'm going to lock it. And now I'm going to do the rest of the players with a little bit of sped up. Okay, now I've got all 4 of my players positioned where they need to be within the overlay. I've locked all of their cameras. I'm going to select all 4 of these cameras and color code them. I like to use the dark blue for player cameras. And then I'm going to take all 5, including my camera, and I'm going to group them. And we're going to call that group Player Captures. And then we'll also code this into this blue color, or purple, depending on the screen. And then we can reduce that so we don't have all of this extra showing up on the screen. Now, one thing you're going to want to do when we talked about setting up your player audio and your own microphone, you can see my microphone levels are moving up and down. You want to make sure that your player's audio is coming through before you start streaming. So if I could get 1 or more of the players to just give me a quick testing. I want to interject here for just one quick moment. The reason that you do not hear Lloyd talk while you see the audio meter move is because in this particular recording where I'm capturing the tutorial, I did not have the desktop audio set up. In the version as the tutorial is presented, you will hear your players speak. Back to the tutorial. Anybody? There we go. Thank you, Lloyd. And you saw as soon as Lloyd started talking, the desktop audio meter rose. And you're going to want to adjust that. So like you see on my audio meter, the volume is going into about the mid-yellow range. Anything more than that, and it's going to be too loud for your audience. Okay, we are almost there. One last thing that I want to show you before we actually walk through the streaming process. You're going to see right here next to my head, it says Scene Transitions. The default is fade, and that's what we're going to look at. As you get more advanced and get to know the ways of OBS, there are stingers and cuts that you can do as well. But right now we're going to look at the default fade, currently set at a duration of 300 milliseconds. We're going to set that to 1,000 milliseconds or 1 second. And that is going to cover the transition between scenes. And you'll see that in action in just a moment. Before you go live, you're going to want to make sure that you mute both your desktop audio and your own mic. Otherwise, your players and your own voice will transmit to your audience. Select Pre-Stream, and you are now ready to hit Start Streaming. I'm not actually going to do it right now, but when you do press this button, it will turn red to say Stop Streaming, and if you selected the Automatic Record option in the settings, right here it will start recording. If not, you can press that to start local recording your stream. You're going to let your stream go for a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, however long you choose to allow your audience to gather. Once you are ready to go live, you're going to select Main Overlay, which in this instance is now a static version. I had to let the volunteers go, but this would normally show your active video windows for your stream. You're also going to then unmute your player windows or player volume and your own volume so that you and your audience can be seen. And you can immediately, as Lloyd likes to do, begin immediately in media res with your game description. Play your game until you decide you need a break. When it is time for you to take a break, let your audience know you're about to take a break. Switch to break screen and make sure you once again mute your players and yourself. When you return from your break after 5-10 minutes, you're going to go back to main overlay and you're going to unmute your player and your audio so you can once again be heard. And again, when the game is over and you've bid farewell to your audience, you click post stream, mute your audios, and you can choose to immediately or let it play out for a minute, then hit stop streaming and stop recording. And at that point, congratulations, you have just streamed a live version of your Dungeons and Dragons or other role-playing game. There are a lot of other options you can do in here, such as adding music. You can add animated elements. You can use a stream deck. I do a lot of high production streams with multiple intro trailers and things like that. Video that plays during the break, all of this kind of stuff. As you get more comfortable with the software, you too can enhance your games. But everything you have learned here today is the bare minimums you need to stream role-playing games to YouTube or Twitch. I want to thank you for watching this tutorial on how to stream Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing games using Open Broadcast Software, OBS, and Zoom video conference software. I do hope you found this tutorial to be useful. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below in the comment section, or you can find me on Twitter at MTD_Jake. Additionally, you can email me at miniterraindomain, all one word, @gmail.com. If you found this video useful and would like to continue seeing great content like this, please consider subscribing and following to Mini Terrain Domain on YouTube and Twitch. If you would like to become a supporter of Mini Terrain Domain and have a direct impact on these types of tutorials and this kind of content, consider supporting financially at patreon.com/miniterraindomain. Thank you and have a great day. Metaday.